classic example over here is the DR passport, right? It has the Brazilian access. So these are the type of conversations I normally have with my clients. You don't get Brazil on some of the other stronger passports. So does that really mean that the DR passport is weak, or is that a hidden gem? A lot of people, smart people who understand this deeply, talk about sense, right? They talk about permutation, combinations. What are the countries I'm going to? What are the countries I really need? Not just the numbers, right? You just don't get a strong passport just for a heck of having the score. This is not a score game. So there's been a sensational, dramatic shift from the 65th position to the 37th ranking for the Colombian passport. Now, this is shocking. And for whoever saw this coming or invested or took use or made use of the Colombian Golden Visa, the PR program, right? 180K to 200K. It started off with 150, and that was really the threshold that one had to invest. And this was diversification. This was not a donation at all. So someone who diversified these monies in a condo in Colombia. Now, yes, I get it. A lot of people talk about it not being the safest place and all those things. But at the end of the day, the passport is pretty safe. It has gotten a lot safer. Such a big jump, right? Just in the number of countries that you're adding to this strength. You can't ignore this. This is not a joke. And whoever the beneficiaries of this all-important PR, the Colombian PR, some of them are nearing their citizenship. And once they get their hands on that interesting red, beautiful cherry red Colombian passport, you're going to be enjoying a lot more than what you started off with. Now, if you aren't an advanced Polls and Chat member, I have a detailed brief on this episode, other passports and analysis, and then also what's particularly very important is to hear from the advanced members on what they feel are the important picks for future. And one of the big things over here to remember is what are the options, right? You have several options around the world, and sometimes the weakest of passports might be some of the stronger ones, right? The US and the Canadian passports are going down the rankings. They started off at number 1, now they're at number 8 and 9 respectively. The Canadian passport is obviously stronger than the US passport in terms of the ranking, the access. On top of that, Canada does not have the citizenship-based taxation. So let's say you're a Westerner, let's say you're an American. If you have access to a Canadian passport, you still are an American. You're in the North Americas. You have access back to the US, but that passport is much stronger now than the US passport, something you couldn't imagine, let's say, a few years ago. Now, moving forward, I think it's very important to identify your picks. A lot of clients who call me aren't necessarily looking for the stronger passport of current times. They're looking to invest in the future, make smart moves, right? Something that's too expensive, which may be good now, but it's going down the ladder. You don't want to be investing in something that's going down. You want to be investing in something that's cheap, that's reasonable, because you want multiple options. You want all the good picks for the future. You want to bet your options on the future, right? And once your weaker passport gets on track to being the stronger passport, that is where you want to be. That is what you want to be investing in today. Also, something very interesting is that the rankings, right? There are some very important considerations here. The numbers is okay, right? You can have more numbers, but what about the importance of each country, right? So a US access is not the same as a Cambodian access. So if you're talking about pure numbers, some passports might be stronger on paper, but in terms of access, if you don't have the important access, then that's no good. A classic example over here is the DR passport, right? It has the Brazilian access. So these are the type of conversations I normally have with my clients. You don't get Brazil on some of the other stronger passports. So does that really mean that the DR passport is weak, or is that a hidden gem? A lot of people, smart people who understand this deeply, talk about sense, right? They talk about permutation, combinations. What are the countries I'm going to? What are the countries I really need? Not just the numbers, right? You just don't get a strong passport just for a heck of having the score. This is not a score game. When you talk about real stuff, real emergencies, real plan Bs and all those kind of things, you got to work with permutation combinations. The weakest of passports could give you the most useful access that you won't get with other investments. So you want to optimize, maximize your potential, your investments. So those are the scenarios that you should be looking for. Some of the weakest passports have some of the biggest advantages. Some of the weakest passports have been able to save lives, right? I've covered this on my channel, several use cases. Right or wrong, you always got to keep things right? You got to be legal, you got to follow the law and blah, blah, blah. You don't need to stress much upon that. That's common sense. But as long as you're following the laws and rules and everything, I think there's some interesting laws in different countries. The permutations, combinations, the combinations of one passport versus the other. Let's say you're trying to accomplish an activity. There's a global strategy. It's allowed in some places. It's not allowed in some places. So you got to play this correctly. And in order to do that, in order to have the flexibility, you want more legal jurisdictions. You want flexible jurisdictions where you're still accomplishing your objectives correctly, legally, neatly, and you have peace of mind because everything is legal. And that is where I think the right kind of passports, the right kind of access goes a long way in safeguarding your interests, in making sure you progress and succeed in life. Now, if you want to discuss what are the best options that are applicable in your case, including the permutation combinations, you can always click the link in the description. We can have that discussion. We can discuss what you're looking for or what you're looking forward to getting in life, and then we can set you with the different options of your choice. We work with some of the best attorneys. I spend a lot of time interviewing attorneys and then finalizing things with the best attorney in a particular location. So we got you covered. Once we have that discussion, accordingly, we can get you started. If you liked this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you aren't subscribed, the first thing, make sure to subscribe to this channel because I continuously cover important tips and tricks and hacks and breakthroughs and different sorts of analysis which can be very beneficial in your Plan B journey. And catch you in the next one.